Three, two, one, crack.
Ladies, gentlemen, aliens of all species, you know what that sound means. It's time for another episode of A Beer and Review.
So pour it high and let it gleam. This is the podcast, Sip and Dream. Stay for the fun, we've got more to do. Oh yeah, it's A Beer and Review.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of A Beer and Review, or should I say, A Beer and Grogu? I am your host for the evening, Luke Walker, joined, as always, by my dearest friend in this whole entire world, Mr. Lane Good.
The beer is strong with this one, huh?
Not bad. We are here for episode number 130, The Chosen One and Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and Grogu. Lane Good, we went and saw this movie last night in theaters. We will talk a little bit more about that. But before we do, I want to know how you're doing tonight. What's up, dude?
I'm doing wonderful. It's a nice Saturday record, which is always fun. I am missing Mr. Keith Fuchs, our bundle of joy that guy is. So he will be missed, but I'm excited to talk Star Wars with him any day of the week because it's so much fun to get under his skin about it. Besides that, I'm doing great. It's a wonderful day to be alive. How about you, my friend?
I would echo all those sentiments. It is a wonderful day to be alive. We got to see the Spurs knock the Thunder off today, which was fun, unless you had money on the Thunder. T's and P's to those those of them, not me, who had that bet. All right, let's get into this episode. Before we do that, let's take a little ceremonial swig here, my good friend. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, if you're new here to A Beer and Review, pretty simple. We watched a movie. In this case, that movie is The Mandalorian and Grogu. We're going to review that movie. While we do it, we're going to drink a beer. That beer today is The Chosen One by Mason Ale Works. We'll give our review of that as well towards the end. So that's pretty much it. If you're here, do all the following, liking, sharing, social media follows, all that kind of stuff. Just do it. It makes us feel happy and like we are adequate. Makes us not want to, harm ourselves. Like this movie may have. Let's talk about, before we talk about this movie, a little bit of a little segment we like to call What You've Been Watching. I feel like you've been watching some stuff. What else you been watching? You were going through your little movie from every year thing. How's it going?
Yeah, I found out that that's kind of just a stupid thing. It's because if I did one movie every year, it would make sense. So now I'm just kind of watching old movies that are progressively getting newer, which I guess is still kind of cool. So I finished 1991. I finished Cape Fear. Wild movie. Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, dark. I would say, when I was watching, I was like, there's no way that they would make this today. But they totally are, with Javier Bardem and Amy Adams. And they're like, it's the same exact story, I think. So I'm really interested to watch that. I thought it was very wild. There's like a lot of pedophilia stuff and like just dark, demented shit. And I was shocked. Robert De Niro did a great job as the bad guy.
Nice. Maybe they can cast Donald Trump for the remake.
There you go. The other movie I watched was The Last of the Mohicans. So I'm into 1992 now. And a weird movie. I think a movie of the time. It's a Native Americans versus, the settlers. Well, it's not really settlers. This is like before America's a country, and just a wild time. And I feel like they don't really make movies in that era anymore. It's kind of a movie of a different time period. And although it felt like it was still a joy to watch. I really enjoyed seeing Daniel. It was a good time, and I'm glad I'm going through all these old movies. So, and I'm also watching Pop Culture Jeopardy. This is the second season. It came out last year as well on Amazon. They switched it over to Netflix. They asked 60 questions, and right now my high of how many I've gotten is 24. So I'm doing pretty good on the Pop Culture Jeopardy, and it's just a joy to watch.
Nice, dude. Well, those sound like some good ones. I also have a couple of bangers I watched this week. The first one is Sneakers. It is a Robert Redford flick, I believe 1992. Robert Redford, Dan Aykroyd, Sidney Poitier, a couple other like pretty recognizable people from that, that era. And they're basically like Robert Redford and his team are like hackers is not the right word. Thieves is also not quite the right word. Like espionage is not quite the right word, but it's like an amalgamation of those things. What they do, they like the legitimate part of what they do is they like break into banks and steal from banks to show banks where their vulnerabilities are. Like the bank hires them to do it, and then they like steal money from the bank, and they're like, "Here's how we did it," right? But then they get pulled into some like deeper, darker, new age tech shit that's like black markety. I don't know. It's a very interesting, cool movie. And then I watched Into the Furnace or Out of the Furnace. Yeah, Out of the Furnace. That's a crazy one. Did you ever see that one?
No, never heard of this one.
So it's God, Christian Bale, Woody Harrelson, Casey Affleck, Willem Dafoe is in it, and it's like Casey Affleck is like, kind of he's this veteran who's kind of down on his luck now that he's back in America, and he's like doing underground fighting, like bare knuckle boxing, and then his brother's Christian Bale, and he's like, kind of on the straight and narrow, and Woody Harrelson's this like weird redneck dude who is like a criminal syndicate guy. Dude, it's very sad and depressing, but also very excellent. So yeah, two movies that I watched this week that were just fucking awesome that I feel like don't have the notoriety that they probably deserve. Really good movies.
Yeah, I felt the same, and that's why it's fun to go back and watch these, because movies these days, as I'm sure we're going to get into, are not very good.
Yeah, not all of them are very good. That's for sure. Some are quite bad. All right, let's talk about this flick, because that is why we are here. This movie, Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu, a 2026 film, directed by Jon Favreau, written also by Jon Favreau and some other folks, starring Pedro Pascal and some other people that I don't really care to name. A not very tight runtime of 2 hours, 12 minutes. Obviously, this is a movie in the Star Wars universe that is the kind of continuation, I guess, or spin-off, if you will, of the TV show Mandalorian. Not even really a TV show because it's only on streaming. Does that make it a TV show? I don't know. But that is the movie. We saw it in theaters last night at a pretty, I would say, packed movie theater. What did you think about the turnout last night?
Yeah, it was wild to see. When we bought the tickets online, we bought them the day before. There was literally nobody in the theater. We had to pick an alert.
Day of.
Damn. Okay, yeah. So it was barren. So when I pulled up at 10 o'clock on a Friday night, I was not expecting much, but it was packed, and not just our theater. It felt like all the theaters were pretty packed. So it was very, very cool to see. Maybe, movies are back. We kind of discussed it this year might be the year, and I'm glad people are getting out there and seeing movies. I'm really excited to see. I'm excited to get back probably next week. So it's good to be a Cinemark movie member.
Yep. So the movie that we would need to get back to see is Back Rooms, which is why I think the theater was so packed last night. I actually heard people talking, like people standing around in the parking lot talking to each other about the movie, like while I was walking in and walking out to my car. So there was a lot of buzz about that movie. And now that our friend Keith is not here, who is a big Star Wars guy, if I had known that he was not going to be joining us and seeing the movie, I wish we'd gotten seen that last night instead. But here we are. The beer for tonight is the Chosen One Galaxy and Citra Hopped Hazy Double India Pale Ale from Mason Ale Works. It's got this very cool hoppy Darth Vader guy on it. So that's the beer. We'll talk more about that later. I don't think we need to explain the connection to the movie. I think that one is pretty self-explanatory this evening.
Beautiful.
All right, you ready to hear a quick plot synopsis? I don't have it written down, which is a mistake, but I'm going to do my best.
I do have it written down if you want me to jump in and take it.
Go for it.
Okay. So Mando, I call him Mando because that's a cool way to describe
Everyone
him.
calls him Mando.
Yeah. So we're going to just call him that the rest of the way. Mando is hired by the Hutt twins, who is Jabba's siblings, if I got that correct, to rescue Jabba's heir and son, Rata, one of those. We find Rata living imprisoned as a gladiator about to fight in his final fight before he earns his freedom. After some serious political discussion, well, not political, but some back and forth of buying Rata, and some monster fighting, which I'm sure will not be the last time we discuss that. Mando lets Rata go as he has earned his freedom. The Jabba the Hutt siblings are very bitter because Mandalorian didn't do what they paid him to do, and they send the badass bounty hunter Embo to bring in the Mandalorian, which he can't really tell,
It's a
does
robot.
does so successfully. Mando escapes and fights even more monsters and then gets poisoned. Grogu ends by a monster. Grogu saves Mando's life with some antidote that he was given to by a catfish-looking gentleman. Mando and Grogu go back to fight the Hutt twins and save Rota, and they successfully do that after, you guessed it, more monster fighting. The movie ends with the twins getting killed by those monsters. Kind of a fun way of where they die by their own traps. And the film ends with the Mando and Grogu aboard their ship, with Mandalorian teaching Grogu how to fly. So he's finally letting him grow up a little bit, or so it seems.
Yeah, that's it. We'll get into a lot more. I have a lot, not a lot. I have some things to say, and a few things to add to kind of the plot that, we'll get into it. But before we get into anything, we must do the first things, which must always be first, and that is one of our favorite segments. Lane loves first scenes. Lane, break down the first scene of this movie for us.
I would love to do nothing more, Lucas. It's a fun way to jump into The Mandalorian. I don't know. I've only seen season 1. So me personally, I am lapsed. So it was a very quick introduction to Mando and Grogu. We get I'd say mid-level Empire. Oh, well, first we got to say we don't get a Star Wars crawl, right? That's very important to start.
We only get those in the saga films.
That makes sense because it makes it feel a little bit more epic. I didn't know that it was only in the saga films, but it does give us a little bit of information. Kind of tells us where we are in the timeline. Again, I'm not a big Star Wars guy, so I don't know exactly, but basically, the Empire and the Republic, they be fighting. But where this story is taking place is in the outskirts. Excuse me. So this is like a lawless society where it tells you basically from the jump, this is a smaller story. There's bigger stuff going on in the world. Let's go have some fun over here in this corner, which I enjoyed. And we see this middling, bad guy who's kind of strong arming the peasants of the town. You got to start paying more. The protection's not good enough, whatever, a little, back and forth. Mando comes in absolutely badass, using all his tools. He's got his flamethrower, his grapple hook that he uses. He's blasting dudes away. I think they did a good job he kind of starts in the shadows and he lights his flamethrower and it's like, okay, our guy's here, even though we can't really see him. And then he jumps in like a two-legged AT&T, whatever it's called, and kind of use it to skis down the mountain, eventually capturing our middling bad guy. He's got him, aimed in his gun, and Grogu's freaking out because they're about to get hit by a missile or something. He blasts them out of the sky. They jetpack off. A very intense opening, kind of like a James Bond chase scene almost.
I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, I thought it was a good, fun, welcoming back of the characters. I thought it was fun. Good.
All right. So you said a lot of things there that I love. One, and we'll get into kind of your relationship with Star Wars, because I think that for a lot of people is going to kind of be a defining thing with this movie. But to me, this was very much like a James Bondy type intro to a movie. Like you'll see in a lot of the Bond movies this kind of exact thing. I mean, I'm even thinking of, the newer ones like the Daniel Craig, right? The very first scene where he's chasing that dude through like up the fucking crane and like all that stuff, right? It's like this one-off mission that doesn't really have to do that much with the main story, but it introduces us to the, kind of the themes of, or, the feel of the movie and who we're dealing with and the badassery. The other kind of vibes I was getting from this intro were a little bit John Wicky.
Okay.
Right. He is just like, I mean, in here, just taking on all comers, right? 1v100 and just kicking the shit out of them in a pretty violent way. There was also a really cool shot. And there's a lot of like really cool visual things in this movie. It's a fucking Star Wars movie. It's all CGI, like for the most part, but there's some visual things that they do that are really cool. And one of the cool ones is because you talked about like he starts out in the shadows, right? And it's like this dark corridor, and you could hear him kicking the shit out of some dudes, and you can kind of see them like disappearing into the dark or whatever. But there's one where he's like standing over a guy, the guy's on the ground, and he's standing over him, and he blasts him. And it's dark, but the blaster just lights it up just for a split second that you see like his silhouette. Mostly, it's like that's fucking cool. Like this is sick.
And I love when they do like the threat is outside and these people are in like a conference room or whatever. It feels like they're untouchable, but the threat slowly gets closer until it's literally at their doorstep. The movie did a really good job of opening strong.
Yeah, incredible opening. All right, let's get a little character draft out of the way, just so we can get it out of the way, and then I have a few things I want to get into a little bit more. Just about Star Wars in general and the Mandalorian franchise and all of that. So go ahead, pick us a number between 1 and 25, Lane.
I am going to pick 11 because I think this is the 11th Star Wars movie I've seen.
Okay. I think this would at least be the 12th. 12th. Anyways, so I'll pick 12, and it's 2, so you get it. So you'll go first and fourth in our character draft here. I will go second and third. I think only two rounds is sufficient. Yeah,
I think so.
Okay.
For me, I'm going to go Embo, the bounty hunter. I mentioned it at the kind of in my plot synopsis. I thought that character was badass from the jump. I'm also including the dog in there. I think they were a tandem pair.
Okay, fair. I'll give you that.
Introduced with the hat, that's kind of like a shield. They're shooting in, it's kind of dive bombing at Mando, and it just led to a really interesting fight. I liked everything about the way he looked, the way he was filmed, the shadows, the rain, and he kind of had one of those like flowing cloaks. Kind of like a Japanese, I think they did a really good job of that in this movie, kind of giving that techno noir kind of feel. And that was one of the characters I think that they did a really good job of that with. So Embo was really badass. I'd say a little underutilized, but I thought such a better character than the Hutt twins. But badass, physical battler against Mando.
So I'm reading here. It does not seem that Embo was a robot. I thought it was a robot the whole time.
It looked like something. Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, it's not a robot.
It was humanoid. It had the shape of a human.
Right. It's a Kyuzu, which is a sentient humanoid species native to somewhere.
Nice.
Humanoid. Okay. Whatever. Yeah. Pretty cool character. Definitely could have been fleshed out a little bit more to, make this movie cooler. But it wasn't. So here we are. I will go with Rata the Hutt.
Yeah.
I didn't love looking at Rata the Hutt's face when he spoke.
Okay, that's fair. When his face when he spoke. Yeah.
When he was speaking, it was just obviously very CGI, and it didn't feel that like clean to me. But I guess all the Hutts in the history of the Star Wars movie, they look kind of weird. But I did love his physique.
Yeah,
I did love that he was just jacked out of his mind. Is that our first buff Hutt? it's our first buff hut. Usually they're fat, slobby, gross, disgusting, and he was a hunk, dude.
Just an absolute stud. I love seeing
Just
him
a
rolling
piece of meat.
around and whipping
Yeah.
that tail. And
Yeah,
oh,
he had some cool moves. He was a badass in the arena. He also just was like a very relatable character, right? He had some actual emotional depth, you know, relative to Star Wars characters in general. So I liked that. I liked you know just his story in general. The like you know, dude, I'm not here to be saved. Like I don't want to be saved. I know more about these people than you do. Like you know, this is you're not helping me.
yeah. And
I can
that's
help
why it
myself.
sucked that, I mean, while we're here, that he was gonna die without Mando. It would have been cool if he
Yep.
would have, you know, been able to stand on his own 2 feet, because it is such a good arc that they set up for this character.
For sure. Um, this is interesting. We almost probably could have gone 3 rounds. I don't know. I guess I hope you'll do the right thing here. Um, Although there's a couple ways you could go, and I wouldn't be too mad. I'm gonna go here with Hugo Durant,
Nice. Yes, absolutely.
voiced by Martin Scorsese.
Did you spot it while we were watching the movie?
Nope.
Me
I did
either.
not. I did not. I didn't even think about it. Because we saw his name pop up in the opening credits and we looked at each other. We're like, what the fuck, Martin's like the Martin Scorsese? And he voices, yes, this little dude who basically runs a food truck essentially. But he's just very funny and like very schizo-y, like very, I don't know, just funny though. He was a enjoyable part of the movie, and I will draft him here, even though
Abs-
not that important to the actual story.
Yeah, I'd say a very minimal, character as far as importance goes. But as far as entertainment goes, I think he was a very important character. He was fun, he was funny, and that's what this movie needed. I really felt like after that, we didn't get much more fun or much more personality. We got a lot more punching monsters in the face, which it can be
Yeah,
fun. But
there's a lot of it.
what this movie was missing was the Hugo Durant angle. For me, I will take Mandalorian. I think
Okay, yeah,
that's the pick. Played by Pedro Pascal. He's a badass. We've mentioned fighting monsters and punching them in the face, but he does it at a high efficient level and ultra badass. I do like the voice of the Mandalorian. I think the kind of smooth, cool demeanor. He's never really too high, he's never too low, but there are subtleties that he does in the voice that gives you some hints of how he's feeling. I like that. I will say, we do actually see Pedro Pascal in this movie for a few seconds.
mm-hmm.
And again, not much of a Star Wars or Mandalorian guy. I wish they would have made a bigger deal about him showing his face. I felt like they kind of mentioned, hey, this is a big deal, and then they kind of just brushed past it. But that being said, him as a character, it's hard not to root for him, even though he has a covered face. He's fun to be around.
He's a badass, right? And I think, well, we'll get into that in just a second. I think the honorable mention characters here would have been Sigourney Weaver's in this. Her character is kind of annoying.
Yep.
But it's cool that she's in it. And then the other character that I would have taken if I had been in a pinch, if we had like 6 characters, if Keith was here, would have taken the Anzelians.
Yeah,
who are like those little tiny guys. Yeah, they're funny. They're hilarious. They're talk
speaking kind of broken English, like you can hear
like,
what they're saying, but not really.
It's super animated. They talk like I don't know. Obviously, I have a lot of friends right now who have kids who are in the like 1 to 2 age where they're just learning how to talk. That's kind of how a lot of these kids talk. It was like that, where you pick up every like 5th word. And you're like they're so excited about everything. It's pretty fun. Okay, so I think the big discussion to start us off here is, your background, your relationship, your affinity for, or lack thereof, for Star Wars, and specifically kind of the Mandalorian franchise. You said you had seen the first season, so like where are you on Star Wars? What's your Star Wars temperature?
Yeah, I have always been lukewarm on the Star Wars. I watched the first 3 when I was a kid. I remember watching episode 2 in theaters for sure. I'm sure I watched episode 1 in theaters. I don't think I saw episode 3 in theaters, but they've never really been my thing. Um, I saw The Mandalorian. It was kind of the first Disney Plus show. It was like, hey, Disney Plus is coming out, and here's this badass Star Wars show to come along with it. You're like, okay. And I threw it on and I enjoyed it, and it was fun and it was mysterious and it was cool. And then every episode was kind of just an episode of the week kind of TV show where it's like, hey, this week we're gonna go over here and we're gonna do this little fun side story, and then we're gonna do this fun little side story. And eventually it didn't really build to much. And so when I came into this movie, I was thinking, okay, well, now we've built for 3 seasons in this show. Let's see where we are. And where we are is exactly where we were in season 1.
Yeah.
Grogu is the same character. The Mandalorian is the same character, and they are after the movie is done. So I would say I'm less than lukewarm on Star Wars now. The reason I was very reluctant to watch this movie with you boys is because they own the most popular franchise in the world, and they're choosing, this is the first movie they made in 7 years, and they're choosing to make, this is dog shit. When you have one of the best, you have one of the best IPs, licenses,
IP
ever.
Just a treasure trove, yeah.
And this is the movie that you put out. That's what I don't want to pay my money and reward that decision. And I'm hoping that this movie, when we get to the financials, I'm hoping you give me some good news and you got something that says this movie is underperforming, so that Disney learns that they have a chance to make good movies. You can make good movies in this world. Do it.
So, my name is Luke Walker. I've, from a young age, have been connected to Star Wars, and I've embraced that. And I have always loved Star Wars. I loved the originals when we were young. I was into enough into the 3 new ones when those came out. I played all the Star Wars video games. I've watched just about everything Star Wars, right? When the Disney Plus stuff has come out, I haven't watched everything, like the Clone Wars cartoons. There was like 1,000 seasons of that. I didn't watch that, but like I watched The Mandalorian season 1 and 2. I've watched Andor season 1 and 2. I watched like the Kenobi show. I watched the Book of Boba Fett. I watched the Solo movie, the Rogue One movie. Like if Star Wars is putting stuff out, for the most part, I'm going to consume it, especially if it's an actual feature film. And some of these TV shows like The Mandalorian and Andor, which are more adult oriented, right? These are the TV shows are made for adults. Like I think for kids,
until Baby Yoda became the sensation that it did.
Yes, but even in the show, right? The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 show, even though the Grogu character is designed to kind of be the cute, fun, kid-friendly character, like it's still adult oriented, I would say, right? The stories themselves, it's and because it is dealing in this side world of the main Star Wars story, right? The Jedi's versus Sith and the Force and all that. These stories deal in the shadows of the outer realms, these planets that are not quite as involved in like all that shit, right? And that's
cool to see like Mandalorian walk through like a regular world with regular people and regular shops, and it was like
people who are like working,
really cool. Yeah,
and that is the coolest stuff that I think Star Wars does. Like that's why I think Andor is some of the best Star Wars content that they've made. And in this, so I don't know. It's interesting because I think in this movie, I do think it'd be pretty hard to see this movie if you hadn't watched The Mandalorian. Did you?
Oh, well, I mean, since I watched the first season, I at least had an idea. I knew who Grogu was.
Why they're together. Like,
yeah, I kind of had an idea. I know they're kind of buddy, and I knew that story. If I didn't know that,
if you hadn't seen the Mandalorian story, you didn't know why these two were hanging out together. You'd be like, "What the fuck is this? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why is Baby Yoda hanging out with this fucking Boba Fett looking guy? Like, right? Like, if you were just just dropping in, you could be like, oh, it's Baby Yoda and Boba Fett, and I would be like, yeah, you might think that, but these
Basically.
are completely two different things. And so I don't know. I didn't know what their plan was with the movie, right? I wasn't sure if they were going to make it like a thing where it could stand alone on its own, or if it had to be you had to have seen Mandalorian 1 and 2, and it kind of seems like you had to have seen the TV show to even get what's going on here at all. And then the movie also fails to like tell us why Mando's a badass,
Yep.
right? And the show does a really good job of that. It especially season 2, which dives into the history of Mandalore, right? The planet Mandalore and who the Mandalorians are and what because it's basically a religion, Mandalorian, right? It's this, and there are these people who train to be like the most badass warriors in the galaxy, right? And like the movie doesn't get into any of that, and I think that's an injustice, and something that would have we would have been spending our time better dealing with some of that than fighting 900 different types of monsters.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to, have some fun monster battles. And like we mentioned, the movie first started, there was so many good things going for it. There were some unique character designs. They do throw them in this real world setting. We get some things that they give you some hooks. We do have this hut connection, so that kind of ties in, and everything's there, and they're kind of mixing this stew, and they do a pretty good job.
The story itself is cool. It's a cool setup. Like it could be a James Bond movie.
They just dump monster, and then they just
monsters,
and they like the lid on the spice popped off of monsters, and it's just pouring monster spice into the movie, and then
that's way too much oregano.
Yeah, and it just bubbles over into some bullshit, and so I'm kind of curious where they pick up the mantle from here. It can't be another 7 years until we get a new Star Wars movie. They need to come out quicker than that. But what do you do? Do you make your next movie related to the Skywalkers at all? Do you start something fresh with a whole new family? Do you go in the future? Do you go in the past? Where do you go with this? But you need to find something that's going to bring people in. And I'd say that this isn't bringing people in, but then again, our fucking theater was packed. So
yeah,
I don't know what you do.
I think the answer is Jedi. You got to bring Jedis back. We got to have lightsaber fights. And I think there's so many, like, dude, the actual story of Star Wars is so vast. There's so many places they could jump in. When I was in, like, I don't know, 5th or 6th grade, I read like a 10 to 15 book series that was all about when Obi-Wan Kenobi was training under Qui-Gon Jinn, right? Like pre-episode 1 stuff. And that shit was awesome. Like what they need to do if they, I think, really want to be, and I don't know, it's a fine line they have to walk, right? Because the darker and grittier they make Star Wars stuff, more adult oriented, the more badass it's going to be. Like they can make some really cool shit, but that is not the mass appeal, right? The mass appeal is selling the shit to kids, and so you can sell all the kids stuffed Grogus and lightsabers and Legos and all the shit. So it's I don't know, it's tough. I don't feel bad for them. They've, like you said, they've got this IP treasure trove that they can make money off of. They just have to figure out a way to do it. But going back to this movie, I do think the setup of the story is pretty awesome, right? Okay, we have the rebellion. Mando has decided that he's going to do jobs for the rebellion, bringing in basically Imperial, connected bad guys or whatever. He has to do this job for the Hutts because the Hutts have information about a Imperial bad guy they're looking for, but in order to get that information, they have to help the Hutts save the nephew. And then
that's like dancing in the gray, right? It's not so black and white, right?
Right. Yeah, there's some I mean, you have to, some moral questions that you have to answer there. Like, oh, we're helping a bad guy, but it's going to serve a good cause, right? And then there's the twist of, okay, really, they just want to get the nephew so they can kill him to make sure the heir is no longer an issue. Hey, that's fucking cool too.
That's
That's like some
cool.
great
Yep.
Game of Thrones shit. We've been doing that kind of thing for a while too. We're into it. And then there's, you know, the twists and the anti bounty hunter, right? The bounty hunter hunting the bounty hunter. All of this is cool. I just don't understand how the movie whiffed so hard from there.
Like,
It's wild. I don't get it. You know, I will admit to people, I have 4 children. I'm not sleeping a lot these days. We went to a late showing. The actual movie didn't start till probably close to 10:30. It's late. Had some drinks that night. Like, I did doze off
in a dark theater. Yeah,
in a
it
dark
was,
theater a couple of times, and I two times that I dozed off. Both times I woke up and we were just fighting monsters still. I
Yep.
fell asleep because we were in a monster fight, and then we woke up. I woke up 5-10 minutes later, and we're in a different monster fight.
It was just insane. And like I've mentioned, you know, that is cool. And you know, they kind of have, like I said,
It's cool like once, maybe twice.
The
right,
show
like
had
the
show
gladiator monster fight, like,
was cool.
Okay, sure, cool. Into
the one
this.
At the end with the big old white kind of snake with the little thing, cool. Keep it.
We had to fight him twice.
Yeah,
and like, we're fighting that guy all the time.
And why? Especially because, like I said, or we said, there's interesting things to tug on. You know, the Rhoda not wanting to follow in his father's footsteps and be someone who's loved instead of feared. These are all things that they barely dip their toe into, and then they just move on to punching more monsters, and it ends with no big bang and no, like I said, the fact that Grogu has not advanced at all in 3 seasons of television and a movie is mind-blowing.
Well, he has advanced a little bit. In season 2, he starts at least like figuring out his force power kind of stuff, and he barely does any force.
He does barely any force. Yeah, he like lifted up a very small robot at the beginning. I remember that,
which I thought was going to then be more. I figured throughout the movie that would advance.
Sure, or like something big, or really just do anything.
I mean, the age, like him advancing age-wise, I guess makes sense because like Yoda in the
I'm not worried about like he could look
like
exactly
900 years old or whatever,
sure.
So he's not going to age fast. But like, yeah, he doesn't like start talking or like
so I don't know why
do more cool force shit or anything like.
In Planet of the Apes, when Caesar says, you know, Caesar is home at the end of the first movie, it's like, whoa, this is badass. If Grogu was like anything, just give me something besides goo goo gaga and you know, tapping on buttons.
Well, so that's the other big part of this whole franchise, or this part of the Star Wars world. Why? What how do we feel about Grogu?
I mean, I'm a 35-year-old man, so my feelings don't really matter because I'm not going to be buying any of the shit. But unless I had kids. But I think he is a underutilized, undermarketed, look at the Minions. The Minions are basically the same thing. They don't really talk, but
the Anzalonians or whatever those things are. Those are kind of more minion-y.
Like, yeah. But if you're going to have a face of a movie, I mean, the movie's Mandalorian and Grogu. There's ways to inject personality and life into that character instead of it just being a cute doll that kind of just smiles and taps on stuff. I mean, I just think the character is so
my feeling is it's very just obvious, just kid bait, just kind of gross like usage of a cute, like he's not really serving any purpose in the story, and I think that he could serve a purpose and still be cute, but like kind of be a little bit badass maybe, or like something else, right, other than just kind of like I don't know, he's just like he's clearly just there so they can sell fucking stuffed animals and mugs
pajama
with
pants.
the pajama. We own some of those pajama pants. It's like, yeah, I don't know, man. In this movie in particular, Grogu to me was a giant detractor.
Yep.
It just made the movie worse. Every scene he was doing something, I was like, this is so dumb.
Yeah.
It's
And
just
like
dumb. Make
the
it
end
be
when
not dumb.
they're the little minion characters, whatever they were called, the Andalorians and Grogu, they like have their little ship and then they save the Mandalorian, and then it's like, oh well, the ship's too tiny. It's like,
Oh my God.
what are we doing, man? Like,
Yeah, it was tough.
2 hours and 10 minutes. Come on now.
Yeah. All right, man. Do you have anything else? I don't
Want to just shit all over this movie
Yeah.
forever.
I think we both agree the setup was awesome.
Yep.
Some of the fight scenes and action scenes were pretty awesome. Some of the characters were awesome. They set us up for a really good movie, and then they just had Mandalorian fight monsters for
I'd be curious. I'd love the time
or an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah. And they just failed to dig into any of the cool storylines that they had set up for us.
Because we're adults, and
that's the other thing. Who is this movie for? Is this for adults or is it for kids? You gotta decide. If
pick one.
If you're Star Wars and Disney, like, who is this movie catering to? Because it's PG-13. I don't think I could have brought my 5-year-old to this movie.
No, that would have been a little much.
Right. And like even a 10-year-old, does a 10-year-old like this movie?
10 years old.
Yeah, maybe. But do they like, I don't know. Like who is this movie made for?
Yeah.
It's just it's kind of an ambiguous, like, I don't know.
What are your thoughts on Sir Johnny Favreau? He was the director. He's kind of been a Disney director. He's done a lot of Marvel. He's done a lot of this. But he started, with Vince Vaughn, and he's got this kind of interesting upbringing and interesting story. And now he just has done the live action Lion King, and all he really does is this high profile Disney stuff. But is it any good?
Yeah, I mean, he also did like a ton of Marvel stuff. The Iron Man. He was he's in like the Spider-Man ones, right? He's Tony Stark's like sidekick guy.
Yeah.
He was also in The Replacements.
He was like the crazy guy,
the crazy linebacker.
I like him in the
Give me the ball coach. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he was in Chef, Swingers. Like, he's done a lot of his dude. I mean, his range is crazy. And if I'm him, I would understand why he'd be spending.
I'll keep doing this. Why not
doing the Star Wars stuff, right? I don't know. I like him in general. I think I like him as an actor, as like a director and producer. I feel like I don't know. Maybe he's almost just like he's like a puppet. He's like the Disney Marvel puppet.
Hey, do you want me to throw a strike right down the middle? Okay, here you go.
Yeah, dude. Like, I'm not gonna take any chances. I'm not gonna do anything that's a reach. Like, this is going to check your boxes and nothing else.
Thank you for the paycheck.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, you can't hate on it because, like you said, I mean, I enjoyed him as an actor. It's just these movies are, again, I'm a 35-year-old dude. These movies are not for me. They are making money. He's making money.
Yeah.
It sounds like everyone's happy except for the audience, or maybe that's just, a bunch of old people like me online bitching. Yeah. So
I don't know, man. He is like just the master IP recycler.
That's a good
legacy. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'm sure his bank account is loving it.
Yep. All right. That's all I got.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, actually, one more. Do you think they make more Mandalorian? Do you think they go back to TV, or do you think there's no way they do another movie?
I can't imagine they do another movie.
No.
I could see more. TV. I could see more of the TV show, but I don't know where you pick up from. I don't know if you pick up where you left off in season 2, or you pick up like this. This could easily be just like side quest,
the TV show
of the TV show, and we never have to talk about it again, and then pick up the TV show and keep going.
Yep.
from season 2. So I don't know. Yeah. All right, man. Should we talk some money?
I would love to talk money, and this one's interesting. We've been doing a lot of Netflix so far this year and year. I should know the answer to this, year 5. And those are tough. But this one, we're in week 2. I think once you're in week 2, you get a little bit of an idea of where this is all going to net out. So Lucas Walker, please make the dollars make sense. Make it rain money on us, man.
I would love to do just that. So I think, as you probably could guess, pretty high budget on this movie. It's a Star Wars movie. It's a lot of CGI. It's a lot of explosions and that kind of shit. The reported production budget for the Mandalorian Grogu came in at about $166 million.
And you said production budget, so that's not including marketing or anything?
I think that is right.
Because this movie's everywhere. I mean, you're seeing it. There's Burger King meals, and
I would think that the budget include. Let's see. So no, so that does not include marketing costs. So who knows what that number would be. But let's operate off the it cost them $166 million to make the movie. Right. That's not all their cost, but let's just start there. That would actually, it's a big number for movies these days. But it's a pretty low number for Star Wars movies. I mean, with some of those, the last trilogy, like The Force Awakens was like a 245 million. The Last Jedi was 317 million. The Rise of Skywalker 275 million. So I mean, this is like half or 60-ish% of those.
Do you think they've lost money since purchasing Star Wars?
Probably. There's no way. No, I can't imagine it. But it's a big number, but not that big for a Star Wars movie. The opening weekend in the United States and Canada, which was last weekend, 81 million and change, 81.5 million. So roughly half of its budget.
You always say that's not bad.
That's pretty good for an opening weekend. The gross worldwide box office this movie came out less than 10 days ago. 180, we'll round up, $183 million. And today's Saturday of the second weekend. So that number's still going up. So it's already eclipsed its at least production budget, and it's now cutting into the making back all of its money for marketing and all that kind of stuff. This movie's gonna keep making a fucking shitload of money. We're gonna give it an A- pending future numbers. This is probably gonna climb into the solid A territory. This movie's making money.
Yeah, I mean, that's why all these movie studios are making these big gambles, right? That's why we're getting these remakes and sequels, because you can throw a lot of money at it, Top Gun, and a lot of people are going to come see it. So it makes it all worthwhile, unless that gamble misses, and then we start getting it to be the video game industry.
Yeah, and like you mentioned earlier, it sucks that it doesn't suck. We got to see these movies, right? We're a movie podcast. We got to go see the movies. I'm not super happy that we spent our money seeing this movie when we could have spent our money seeing Backrooms. So we should go spend our money seeing Backrooms is my point.
Yep, I agree. All right. I think that's interesting. I also just kind of want to point out while we're sitting here kind of drunk, you read online how, this movie's this huge, colossal failure for Disney and this big old flop. But really, it's gonna make money.
It's gonna make money. It's gonna print a bunch of money.
People need things to do on the weekend, man. And everyone knows Star Wars. And if there's a new Star Wars, let's just go fucking see it. Who cares?
And this movie is going to be in theaters for a while. It's going to make a fuckload more money. And then it's going to go to Disney Plus, and it's going to get watched millions of times on Disney Plus for years and years to come. And people are going to justify continuing to pay their, whatever, $16.99 a month for their Disney Hulu package, because shit like this exists on it and their kids can throw it on. And, it's just part of the machine.
Yeah, I love the kids who like grow up watching this who are like, oh my god, I love this movie, and then they come back and watch it 20 years later, like, oh, this fucking
This
sucks.
fucking sucks.
All right, let's talk beer. You ready?
Let's go to the beer corner with our local beer enthusiast, Lane Good.
They used to call me the local drunk, or Keith did, the local alcoholic, and I had to put
Yeah,
a stop to that very
I
quickly.
always felt that was mean.
it's fine. This just has a connotation, and you guys know I'm not a real alcoholic. Mason Ale Works Chosen One Double Hazy IPA, 8.7% alcohol. We got the pints, 16 ounces. The hops are strong with this one. So saith the can. Galaxy and Citra hopped hazy double India pale ale. Lucas, I know you're not in the IPA ballpark these days, but what are your thoughts on hazies just in general when you were in the IPA game?
I think that I always was fine on the hazies. I think I was more non-hazy than I was hazy. It just felt it feels heavier, right?
Mhm.
It's thick and it's just like it's almost like drinking a syrup or something. Like
Yeah,
it's
like a smooth, like a fruit smoothie.
yeah, exactly. So I was always, you know, more on the normal IPA than hazies, but I drank plenty of hazies.
Yeah.
We used to drink it at bowling. We'd get that hazy every week. So
Yeah, those Sierra Nevadas.
yeah,
This, excuse me. This is not a normal hazy, as you heard. It's a double hazy. And I think that's something that's happened, I'd say, within the last 5, 6 years. I think people came out with IPAs forever ago. And then people came out with hazies and they added the fruity. And then we got into, the pineys. And then we started getting heavier, like double IPAs. And then where does a hazy go from there? It goes into a double hazy. That's the next logical step. And I've had a few of them and they're mixing strong alcohol taste with like a fruitier, softer taste that you typically think of when you think of hazies. And those are it's a tough combination to pull off.
yeah.
But let's learn about Mason Ale Works. Established in 2015 in Oceanside, California, Mason Ale Works was founded by San Diego's foremost craft beer hospitality professionals. Renowned for their exceptional ales and lagers, Mason Ale Works offers standout drinks such as a crisp Mexican-style lager. It sounds good. A perfectly balanced West Coast India Pale Ale, and a range of top-tier hazy India Pale Ales. Consistently pushing the boundaries of craft beer, Mason brews over 100 different beers each year. Mason Ale Works, craft built. Here's the Masons right here. Grant Tondro looks to be the owner. We've got Two Truths and a Lie. I read through some of it, but that's not a way I want to read about my brewery. So I stopped. Near us, I thought this was kind of cool to see their map. They're currently sold in 19 states, all the West Coast. We got the Texas, Louisiana, some of the Midwest here in the Illinois, Indiana, and then on to the East Coast here in the Southern East Coast. So not quite up in the Northeast if you're listening from that part of the country, and definitely not there in the middle of the country. You can't call that the Midwest because people from the Midwest get angry. But West Coasters, Texas, Southeasterners, find yourself some Mason Ale Works. They do have a lot of cool different beers. I have had their beers before. I think we had the Dankenstein, right, on the podcast.
We've definitely had that. Yep.
And then I did have the Weapon X. This came out, I think, right when the Wolverine and Deadpool movie came out. So they've got the Deadpool, the Weapon X, and the Hulk, which is just crazy. The fact that I thought I almost spilled the can. That would have sucked on my new laptop. But the fact that breweries can get away with doing, I mean, it's very obviously Darth Vader. That other one, this one on the right here is very obviously Freddy Krueger. Like, what? How did they get away with that? It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm not a lawyer, so that's a question for someone smarter than me.
Lucas, I'm not either.
To know, I appreciate you drinking the double hazy IPA. I know we've announced it on the podcast that you have gotten away from said beers, but thank you for soldiering through for me on this one. What did you think of Chosen One Double Hazy IPA?
I am pleasantly surprised by this beer.
Really?
I would say for what I would have expected from a double hazy IPA, I would have expected a lot, just more of a kick in the teeth. I think if I had 2 or 3 of these, I'd be fucking sleeping on the floor with fully clothed. Uh, you know, it'd be a tough scene. I'm sipping on one, and the flavor is really good. It's not quite as heavy as I thought it'd be. It's heavy.
It's heavy.
It's a beer there. But the flavor is very good. I think it's a solid beer. I'll give it a 7. It's not really my cup of tea these days, but I can't say it's bad. Certainly not.
Well, Lucas, I disagree with that entirely. I think this beer is pretty terrible, to be honest.
Interesting.
With you. Yeah. I don't like hazies. I like strong beers, but if you just want a strong beer, like I every Friday at work, I go to Total Wine to get our beer for the podcast for the weekend, and I pick out one solo 16-ounce IPA because I get to have a drink half hour before work ends. And so I'm always looking for something, pretty strong. And usually I find something that at least has some good taste. This is just the front taste isn't bad, and it smells good and it's got some good color. It does have like the live yeast in it, so you can kind of see if you're
I never loved that.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a good taste
at the beginning, but I think you can get a real nasty aftertaste in the back of the throat. And I keep getting it. And I want to explore the range here a little bit of the 1 to 10.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that this is a 4. I'm going to say that this for me is a terrible, I think that's what I have 4 at, is a terrible beer for me. I didn't love this at all.
Terrible. I'm surprised. I would never drink one of these again. And I've only drank.
Not going to finish that one.
I've only had half of the 16 ouncer, so maybe I'm not fully equipped. I'm mostly doing it for the taste. I think the taste is. I'm not getting the bad aftertaste like you mentioned. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a sophisticated palate like you are.
Well, I'm on number 2, so I've been putting it down a little bit.
That's true. That is true. All right. Well, that's the beer corner. That leaves us with just one major thing left to do. And that's to play America's favorite game. It's Rotten Guesses time.
Beautiful. I do want to shout out me. I did the thing where you made it where when we enter in your critics guess and then we type it into Rotten Tomatoes, it'll automatically do the math for me. So I had that set up and somehow it got jacked up. But it's fixed, and I am very excited for that. So
wow, look at us go!
Look at us.
All right, dude, you are the guest, not the host, which means you have to go first.
I don't want to
give us your guess for the critic score, the tomato meter, and the audience score, the popcorn meter. What do you got?
I don't want to do this, Luke.
You have to. Hey, you have to.
All right.
It's part of the deal.
We've done it 130 times.
Yeah, you're not invited back if you don't do it. So.
I think the critics are going to be lower. I think that's got to be clear.
I think that's a decent guess.
I think the audience is going to be higher than I am comfortable going.
Oh, that'd be hard to get higher than you're comfortable being.
Yeah. And so I am going to say... Because I'm looking at the season for me, I mean, it hasn't been good. There's a lot of, 22, 14. I'm far away on a lot of these numbers.
Yeah.
I'm going to go audience, excuse me. 84.
Okay.
I'm going to go critics. God, they're going to shit on it. They're getting shit on it. 52.
Oh man!
52,
wow.
84 for your boy.
That's a big drop down. Wow. I don't know if I'm comfortable going with a spread quite like that.
It's a bad idea.
I am going to start with the critics. The tomato meter. I actually was kind of thinking about swimming in those waters. I'm going to go a little bit higher just because, man, how could you go lower?
Play the game, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go 58 for the audience, or the critics. Sorry, 58 for the critics. Can't imagine they loved this. I'm going to have some faith in the people. I'm going to have some faith in the audience. We've had some insanity with the Rotten Tomatoes scores with movies that just are not good, and people giving them like scores in the fucking 90s and stuff. I'm gonna have some faith that the people like recognize that this movie's bad. I'm gonna go 73.
Ooh. We do talk about how Rotten Tomatoes is abnormally pretty high, but look at what we've watched this year. The highest rated audience score, 86 here for Armageddon, is the highest. We haven't watched a single movie in the 90s this year.
That can't be right.
Heights is the highest critic score.
I thought they had some really high ones recently.
No,
we've
been watching a lot of dog shit.
Yeah. Well,
all right, Lucas, you got the Rotten Tomatoes up?
I do. Which score do you want first?
Give me with the critic, because I think that's going to be low.
Okay, we were almost in the right area. Me closer than you. They came in at a 62.
That's fine. I'm not
mad about that. I think that's about.
So hold on, check it out. Ready? Look at that. It automatically fills it in. 10 away. You're 4 away. Look at that.
Amazing. We should have trusted our guessing instincts, not our personal biases towards the movie. The people with 10,000 plus verified ratings, the popcorn meter comes in at an 88.
Jesus fucking Christ. What are we doing? The world is sunshine and rainbows and nothing's bad and everything is the best in the world.
According to Rotten Tomatoes, every movie that comes out is amazing.
Get a little goddamn perspective, people.
There hasn't been a bad movie that has come out since 2007.
Jesus.
Golly, people, what are we doing? 62, 88. So I mean, you were at least onto something with the huge spread.
Yeah. Oh, I was close. I was only 4 away.
Yeah. You nailed. You were solid. You spread it a little too much. If you had brought your critics up a little bit, you'd have been right on it. Yeah.
Spread it.
Get in there.
But people don't listen to this for the audience reviews and the critics reviews. They listen to a beer and review for our reviews. You are the host, so I think I'm going to go ahead and just go first here.
Yep. That's the best way it goes.
Usually the second that I get out of a movie, I have a score in my mind. And I think this one, I was so flabbergasted about what I watched that I couldn't even put a score in my head. Did it have a cool setup? Yes, it did. Is fighting a bunch of cool, different, unique monsters fun? Yes, it is. But 2 hours and 10 minutes of my time at 35 years old is valuable. I'm going to go ahead and match my beer review and say that this was a terrible movie, and I'm going to give it a 4. This movie was terrible. It had the chance to be so many things, and it chose to be an hour and a half of just bullshit. Yeah, it was terrible. Do you agree?
I agree.
Yes.
This movie sucks.
Yeah, big time.
This movie sucked. I didn't want it to suck. I wanted it to be awesome. And it for a brief moment in time tricked me into thinking it was awesome.
Yeah.
I was on board for like 40 minutes probably.
I'd say 30 for me. I mean, 40.
Sure.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range of like, this is okay. All right,
I'm in.
let's do this. We got a fucking James Bond, John Wick bounty hunting Star Wars son of a bitch. Like, let's do this.
Yep.
And then it was like, oh, you want to do this? What we're gonna do is we're gonna fight
Only this
every monster
you've ever even imagined.
just nonstop. We're just gonna fight
And there
monsters.
were some cool ones. They were the ones that like
Yeah.
floated in the water that kind of had like this cobra heads. Those
Yeah.
were cool. You know, it was just
But
man.
in combination with each other, just what are we doing? I'm trying to explore the range of 1 to 10 because that's what we are operating on. It doesn't make sense to only use one half of the scale. It's hard to go so low for me, but this movie sucks. I give it a 4.5.
I'm proud of you.
A 45.
I know that took a lot for you
Yeah.
to give a Star Wars property that you love one of your lowest scores of all time, but that's what we
Bad
got.
movie. It's
That's what we
not
got.
good. Yeah.
And so hopefully the Star Wars team that makes all the money learns from that, and so that they can make more money, because I think that's what they're trying to do. And spoilers, if you want to make more money, make better movies.
Yeah.
But that, ladies and gentlemen, is a beer and review episode 130. I appreciate you all so much for joining us. Lucas, thank you for getting a double hazy IPA with me. You can go ahead and pour the rest of that out. But thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week for episode 131 of A Beer and Review. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.